Hello and welcome to the cryptocurrency news channel. We have a massive piece of news that can affect the cryptocurrency world and the world in general. Now, we know that everything is dependent on Russia and Ukraine on how the market acts the next couple of weeks. So we got some massive news. So basically, the French president Emmanuel Macron has actually brokered a peace talk between our buddy Vlad and Joe Biden, our president. Now, this is dependent on two things. The summit will not happen if A, Russia invades Ukraine, or B, the talks between Anthony Blinken and whoever his Soviet counterpart is, I can't pronounce his name, goes well. It is dependent on those two things. If those two things do not go well, we will not be having the summit. Now, that is a big if, because we don't really know if either of those things will go well. Needless to say, both of them. So this is very important, and we will be monitoring this next week because you can get all the TA signals you want. They're not going to matter one bit. If Russia invades, you'd have all the positive signals you want, and we would still go down. So it is only agreement in principle between Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden, and it could break down. And by the way that things have been going, it is probably going to break down. It is a last-ditch, still tentative, and highly conditioned agreement between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden after a weekend of frenzied diplomacy, or lack thereof. There's been shelling in the far east of Ukraine. They're saying like Russia is going to use that as a pretense to actually invade. Russian separatists are shelling like buildings. And Russia's going to try to blame it on the Ukrainian army. So that could actually be a thing. If Russia decides to invade, let's say tomorrow, because the Olympics just ended, this agreement will obviously not happen. And like I said, it's contingent on the outcome of talks between Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Europe this week. And this meeting also depends on the condition that Moscow's troops don't further encroach into Ukraine. So there's a lot of conditionals. It may not happen, but if it does happen, it is pretty massive. I think if it even happens, crypto will actually go up because just getting to this summit will probably be like a big milestone for any kind of peace talks. If we don't even get to the summit, we're probably going to war. So getting to the summit itself will mean a big deal. Of course, you have to monitor the talks between Blinken and Lavrov because if those don't go well, this whole thing goes kaput. My guess is we'll drop to pretty close to 30K if they decide to invade because obviously that's going to play havoc with inflation and gas prices are going to go up. Things are going to be bad in Russia as well, but at least for the next 2 or 3 months, things would actually be pretty bad in the United States. Now, I do think this conflict is going to last longer if they invade than most people think. Blinken and Lavrov will discuss further if the invasion hasn't started by then. This is from CNN Politics, in which case it's all off. So basically, like Blinken and Lavrov are trying to hash out some last-minute deals to prevent Russia from basically invading. If that happens, Biden and Putin will actually go in themselves. So there's no timetable, which worries me a bit because I think like that almost means they don't expect this to actually happen. And of course, they suggest that if Russia were to invade Ukraine anyways, the U.S. would actually impose swift and severe consequences, which means sanctions. But the thing is, like, not all of Europe may be on board. So hopefully this de-escalates down. I'm still kind of thinking that Putin is just drawing a bluff to try to get some concessions from the West, mainly his demand that Ukraine and Georgia never be allowed to join NATO permanently. Because right now they've only been denied the last 15 years, and the situation has, Ukraine has pushed more and more after the annexation of Crimea. And Russia really needs Crimea because they need access to the Black Sea. That's most of the reason why they actually annexed Crimea. Obviously, Ukraine doesn't like Russia annexing its own territory, so they want to join NATO to prevent further annexations of territory. Russia obviously sees NATO on its doorstep as a security concern. So both sides have their points, but unfortunately, that results in some kind of a conflict, and that unfortunately results for us in the market going down. However, that could be a buying opportunity for all of you because eventually this conflict will actually end and we will not be nuked into oblivion. So I'm not really worried about that. So yeah, I do think like if they do invade, it is definitely a short-term crunch on gas prices and other prices. There'll be more inflation. The global economy will probably go into a tailspin. Russian economy will definitely go into a tailspin, but the U.S. economy will be affected as well. But if the summit actually happens and the summit produces good results, I do actually think that this will be a massive event, and that would be a very, very bullish signal for the market. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.